Hello and welcome back to Wars Going On. I'm here on the Forerunners server and I'm Arcturus.
Hello, everybody. I am Sebastian, and we are welcome to What's Going On. Again, just as a reminder, it is a community based podcast that we do here. So we do invite you to join the conversation by joining the Dragon Slayers community Discord server. The invitation code is Dragon Slayers. It's pretty simple. Come and look for the What's Going On Discord thread and go ahead and provide any input that you have. You might be the lucky one that we select the topic on to base the episode, the week's episode.
Now, while this particular topic that we're going to talk about today didn't come up in this thread, we know a lot of people are interested in it because the Guild Wars has yet to start. Season 4 is yet to start on global, and that's got bringing with it a whole new map. And you've had a bit of extra time to play and practice before it starts, but we just thought we'd share some of our knowledge from what we found playing on the Forerunner server so that you can learn and go in with the best defenses that you could have. But first things first, there was a minor update this week on the Forerunners server with a few additional changes. Now, currently in friendly face-off, the defenses that you have will their gear change will be live. Now, you are probably aware of gear locking that's coming to the defenses of your teams, and this is now also going to be applied to your friendly face-off teams. So it's a really nice piece of change that's going to come. Hope they roll that one out quickly, because one of the most frustrating things is when you're practicing is for you not to have those defenses to not have your defenses ready when someone's testing stuff, and they have to go around and do the cycle again.
Yeah, just a little bit of a heads up with the future is that it allows you to lock all 10 heroes at the same time, especially if you have them all gear exactly how you want it. Just be aware and make sure that you double check all your heroes in the garrison, even if you change one, because there have been some situations where even if you change just one hero in the lineup, it can lead to all five gears being changed. So always doesn't hurt to double check. And then you Arturos has said that maybe you also notice that if you change something in the tower, it might change something in the central keep if you're helping people with friendly battles. So all of that, just make sure you double check any change that you make to your rosters when the week's battles are going on.
Yeah, I mean the ability to lock gear is absolutely brilliant because it takes so much stress out of setting your teams up, because you can set them up on a Monday and lock it in, and it's great. Now this means that you can have your defenses, you can set them up, and you can test them over the weekend, and everything is going great as well. And you'll be able to, if you do make changes, it is just a case of, okay, yeah, I still need to double check that I haven't pulled off the defense gear to use in my arena, and then I've done a friendly fight. I've messed around with my teams for a second, and I press save on a small tower, and that hasn't had a knock-on effect on my large garrison. So, yeah, it's just something to check and something to keep an eye on. But it's still a hell of a lot easier than having to get everything set that in that 1 hour, 1 to 2 hour windows before reset.
Yep. So now you just click, and then you can rest assured that you can go on and do whatever else that you need. If you need to protect your arena defense again, go ahead and do that. Everything should be locked in, exactly how it goes. You don't have to wait for the whole thing to process into matchmaking before you can start making changes again. So it's a great update. I like it for GvG. Hopefully they bring it for arena. That's one that we've been asking for. Lock our gear on defense. But for some reason, this just hasn't rolled out yet.
I think they're testing it myself to see how it's doing in GvG before they bring it into Arena, but maybe bring it in
Would be
sooner,
a
or
good.
maybe they'll bring it in with. I was speaking to someone the other day, and they thought they might come in with the real-time Arena, and when that rolls out in September, we might see the gear locking coming as well.
Then the other minor update I saw, it was just the war room. It became a little bit more detailed. So now
Yeah.
it's going
So let's just
to,
jump over to
you're going to
that.
be able to keep track of things. Yep. They're going to be able to keep track of things a little bit easier now.
So when you first, when we first showed this off, it was much. It didn't have these tracker numbers in them, so you couldn't see that the epilogue was 54% or whatever, or how it just have each of these areas to go to. Now you can clearly see that the Drake has got 2 attacks still outstanding. The Tide is will have its marker on it for when the rewards are there. But again, so my Semrar and my Drake battles still need to be done, but you can see exactly how many are left. So I think as well, if you've done Tide and you've got 1 battle remaining, then it will say 1 of 3 battles remaining on that. But I've got 3 of 3, so it's not showing anything.
Right.
So that was
And
really,
there were other minor ones.
yeah, nothing really major. There's a tiny one relating to uh, the skills. So now, when you get a hero with a locked skill, for example, I've got a brand new Lasir who dropped into my account over the weekend. He says frantic trying to find him, and so if I look at his skills now, because he's not fully promoted, I've got 1 skill locked. It now shows you what the unlock condition is for that skill. So it now says reach promotion 3 in order to unlock this. So we kind of had a touch of this before on the talent, where it said you would unlock it, enhance it a certain grade. But now they've rolled that across to all of the sub skills as well. So it's a minor quality of life, but most people knew that the first one unlocked at the first promotion, and the second one unlocked at the third promotion, and there was normally a range change at promotion 2. So it's it's not massive. I guess it's a kind of a nice quality of life change for newer players.
For newer players, exactly. So you can kind of look to see, the promotion and stuff like that. But you're gonna promote your heroes anyway, so there might be something else that's coming down just to make sure that you could see everything.
Yeah. So that was really it for
All
the
right, and then
update.
the updates. So the only other thing that I have in terms of wars going on in topics that people have been talking about. So I don't know if you have heard the whole thing about Tencent and Dragonair Silent Gods closing down in the United States. I don't know if you played the game, but essentially that's what happened. Is that in September 16, United States is going to get shut out, and there are things going on in the background there, but that's fine. The problem, or the yeah, I guess it was a problem because some players thought, isn't Dragonair with closely related to Watcher of Realms and the whole structure. So I did a little bit of research and I talked to about this in Fastidious stream uh, when he invited me over. That what happened really is that BitDance a while ago in November decided we're gonna just get away from the mobile gaming industry and we're gonna start selling some of those sections off. And then came about this year early on, they changed their mind a little bit. And so
Okay.
they decided to keep one division. In particular, it was Munton division because there's a game, I think it's Mobile Legends Bang Bang that is called. That
Yeah.
is too profitable for them. So they thought, we do not want to get rid of this yet. And luckily for us, the same company that develops that game develops Watch of Realms. So
Yeah.
they stayed with BitDance. Okay. Everything else that you saw in terms of Tencent acquiring, that's where Dragonair fell into. And that's why the change is going on there. Now, as to why they took it out of the USA, that's on them. And I'll leave those content creators to postulate on that. But I'm just gonna say here, I'm feeling okay with the future of Watcher Realms. I don't think that the BitDance, aka Nervers, and then Nervers is the umbrella then that has Munton, that they are not going to get rid of this game so easily just yet.
Yeah, and I think given the sort of the level of celebration and that they put into the first anniversary, they're obviously feeling pretty optimistic for the next year. There's definitely a sign that they've got plans of where they want to go, and they're keen to keep people engaged. And the fact that there's new uh, there's new ancients coming on the horizon. They've been showing off. They've been talking about the fact that there's these towers coming in next year. So the sort of the tower mechanic that they had
Yep.
for the anniversary, they're going to be bringing that out with in sort of early 2025 for the main for global, and there's going to be more. And that's a really nice mechanic. I mean, I part of me hated it because I found it frustrating, but it was really good in the fact that you could have uh, your you didn't have to worry about skill crystals. You could just have the character unlocked in your gallery, and you could bring them in, and it would play like it was a max level hero, and that was fun because you got to try things that you might not otherwise have tried because you were short on resources for whatever reason. So, but it was
Yep. A
it's
lot of
good
heroes
that
got
they've
I was just gonna say that a lot of heroes that we typically don't use saw some play in the spiral. That was nice to see, especially in the lineup. So, you know,
yeah
Ian got to see some playtime. So just little heroes like that, and that was really interesting to see. So, but from what I wanted to bring up is, and you just laid it out, Moonton with Watcher of Realms had a better roadmap of the future, and they illustrated that a lot better than what the developers did for Dragonair, and that's why there was that feeling that Dragonair, you know, where is this going? Content creators were asking for it. They didn't give too many answers until they released that statement saying, "Sorry guys, United States is getting shut out." So I feel more confident with Muntan, especially not only because it's still within the Nuverse umbrella, but like you said, they have provided more of a roadmap than this other game did. So the two
yeah
are not really interwoven here. They're two different entities. So we'll be fine. I'm still comfortable, spending a little on my global account. So it's not gonna, dissuade me or scare me off per se. So it'll be fine.
yeah.
I'm
Uh,
seeing a bright future for the game.
Yeah, I think there's plenty more to come. I think as the game expands, there's always going to be that balance of keeping the content fresh but not overloading players. Because the last thing you as
Right.
a player want to do is to feel like this is a full time job and it's taking over because there's so much to do every day. You do want there to be something which has a bit of variety to do every day, but at the same time, if for example, like my arena team struggles, so I generally keep all of my best gear in arena. So that means I don't necessarily push other areas because I've pulled all my best gear off my gear raid teams because they're all locked. They're all in the arena team, keeping my holding my rank in arena. So if there's too much going on and people feeling that they're having to move stuff around too much or it gets too confusing, then people will feel overworked. The first time I tried raid, I went in and I didn't even make it part to the 30-day mark because I came in really late to the game. I'd seen a couple of adverts, it looked fun, and I just felt completely lost and overwhelmed, and I just didn't feel like I was keeping pace at all.
Yep.
Now, if uh, watches goes down the same route, then that's really unfortunate. They're obviously looking at ways to sort of make it more accessible by having things like this farm mechanic, and they're still playing with it, and they have actually made some improvements, and the game is slightly less laggy than it was on the up until now, but it's still been very laggy on the Forerunner server since it's been introduced.
So yeah, so let me go back a little bit into the comment
Yeah.
that you made about making sure that this is not a full-time job type of game.
Mm.
Listen, Raid Shadow Legends or Plarium, they they acknowledge it. I mean, they're blatant about it. They want you to be in the game 24/7. And I'm gonna shout out here Mordor Mike. Trust me on this. If Mordor Mike and I get even a sniff that there are taking that path to try to keep us in the game 24/7, we're going to call them out on it because we've been there. We've seen the blatant attempt, the blatant changes that they make just to keep you in the game all the time. And yeah, trust me, I do not want to see it there. I don't think that they'll go there because a lot of the stuff that I saw during when I joined in beta, to me it looks like it was already stuff that they had implemented, knowing about what Raid Shadow Legends was lacking, and that they had incorporated into their system. You probably, if you did play, you probably had to go through the tavern system to upgrade your heroes, and that was
Mm.
so tedious to do that when you came into a game like this in their beta and you saw, oh, instant upgrade, it's just right away you're thinking, okay, this guys here in Muntan probably already have an idea of things that other games, especially one of the ones that is up in terms of the tier of or this genre that is lacking. We got to make sure that we have it. And I thought in their development of setting things up, they did a much better job on team in terms of how much time you have to spend in the game than what Plarium was doing with Raid Shadow Legends. So, but even as it came into the future of that game, going into year 3, year 4, year 5, you knew that some of that stuff maybe they were pulling back on because they wanted to make sure that they introduced all the new content where you are going to be tied up into investing time into. And then as a consolation prize, they were going to say, here, if you want key clan boss, you can auto do it. Now you can, now in the tavern, you can instant upgrade if you want. In
Mm.
the gear, you can instant swap. All this little stuff they started introducing, saying, we understand that you want Q and L, here it is, but we already knew that other games already had it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So in that regard, trust me, Mortar Mike and I would be front persons to tell you if this is going down Raid Shadow Legends path, which we don't think it is right now.
Yeah, that's positive.
Right, so let's get to the topic at hand today. Let's just do little, not show battles specifically, but we just wanted to kind of give you layouts that we've seen it that are holding strong versus the ones that are not holding strong, and then where susceptibilities you may introduce based on how you put the formations together.
Yeah, so I'm just going to jump into my tower setup. So just jump into Garrison Team. Okay, so let's go dive into one of these teams. So now this is not necessarily. Yeah, I'm not going to say by any means this is a great team on defense. This is more a case about just showing where you can position heroes and what uh, what squares you can do. So what we have are a fewer number of tiles that are really hidden away from the pathway. So in the previous one, the archers were the platform tiles were generally 2 tiles away from the path. So that meant it was easier to hide people really far back, which meant they were protected from the focus of the incoming ranged units. And it meant that you could do you could almost protect your marksman by having a Bates marksman in front of them, or you could have them position the tank in such a way that the marksman never got focus, and you could really just lock down, and it was much easier to defend. This map is so much harder to defend effectively. There are also, I'm not going to say there aren't good defenses out there. There are some very good defenses out there, and we'll talk about some of those strategies as well. And if we get round to it, so what you will find, and Blunt's Guts did a video on this, and I've already linked it before, but you will find that there are some tiles which are automatically more susceptible. So, as with any path unit coming down this side here, the first thing you've got to think is that's one, two. So the range unit will be coming down here. A epic archer or has got a range of 3 tiles. So that's 1, 2, 3. If you put a unit here, unless they're incredibly tanky, they're gonna get picked off before they're even round the corner, because your marksman, your units coming around here will just get attacked and taken out. Now, you can, if you've got a defender. I mean, with a defender here, you could put a unit here you could pull them back a unit, but then you're opening them up to bookkeepers or an AoE attack, because you've got the bookkeeper attacks in that cross pattern, and that will hit the platform unit there. But if they're that one unit forwards, then there's a chance they'll still get attacked before your defender takes the focus. So yeah, so if you have a unit on these two tiles here, it's going to be really difficult to defend them, either from incoming marksmen, or from AoE targets coming up to this platform.
Yeah, and for example, I saw an Eobard there, and I think somebody was just hoping that he would be fast enough to take somebody down. But we already have tank units that can stomach that type of physical damage. So you just send it, burn the ultimate, send some bookkeepers, and you just completely take them out. So yeah, so if you're gonna put a defender there, you pretty much take out those two tiles there on the top of that defender there. And if you try to put somebody right adjacent to that tank, then either you're going to get bombed, or again, bookkeepers are just going to take that unit down. So the one tile that is going to be very strong, it's going to be the one below the tank, below the adjacent. Right there.
This one.
That's going to be a very strong touch. So that's one probably where you want your powerful mage in there, or somebody that you're going to use to stall out. So that's integral in terms of the tile.
It's really good because even as people are coming over, they don't tend to focus on that tile while there's something else nearby. It's almost they'll take out the unit there, or they'll take out the unit there, and then they'll come back for this one here. It's something to do with the prioritization of how they look. Yeah.
Correct. So for this kind of setup, what I would suggest, one of the strongest type of defenses that I've seen is if you have the defender right where you have them, and then you can put then an attacker right straight line to the left. I don't like that tile. You're gonna have to let me know if you really do think that tile there that is adjacent but not straight directly with the tank is powerful, because any fighter that I've seen there, it just, to me, it seems easy to pick off if you place them there.
It's very easy to pick off with
if it's straight.
Yeah, if there's physical attack on the field and they send in uncommon destroyers, anything placed on this tile is dead, because the uncommon destroyer smash will just take out any ground units in a 9 square arena. Anything on a platform is fine, but the ground units they're dead, and it's too close. Now this tile works, and the one behind it is perfect for Dahlia if you want to drop her there, or maybe even Ingrid if you get her in a few weeks' time. So there's going to be units with lovely long ranges which you can stick on here. They are going to have to introduce a sniper unit, a marksman with really long single file range now. They've done it with 2 mages. They have to bring in the marksman who's a sniper now.
A marksman. Yeah, exactly. So one of the strongest formations, and it's one that I'm using for my defense that I like to use, is if I put a defender down there, I try to target that healer right on the tile that is by the core. So then I point them down, and that now gives me flexibility to put 3 attackers down there on the bottom, on using those 2 tiles and the platform unit, and then the ground unit on the bottom. And it really does become a strong defense. if you are able to mix and match the type of damage and make sure that you have heroes whose ultimates are going to come back a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So I know that some people like to put in like hacks in there, and depending on who you match him with, he's easy to bait, number one, and then he takes a long time to come back to his ultimate. So sometimes you can get around that. It
Yeah.
depends on what composition you decide to bring in.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. I hate to mention it because it's so it's very effective, but people work it out very quickly. A Mari positioned on this tile can cause absolute
Yep.
havoc, and she doesn't necessarily need to be facing forward. She can be facing up, and yeah, as soon as anything comes into range, she's slowing them down, and everything else can then pick it off in good time. Uh, uh, she's adding vulnerability. She's wearing people down. Yeah, she just causes absolute chaos in that tile. And there's very little you can do about her until you take out the defender.
Yep. So, and then the other strategy that I've seen people try to do, so if you take out all the back, and so what they do is that they bring in the defender to that tile where you have Helga in right now,
Yeah,
and then they put two platform units right behind. If you're gonna do that, trust me on this, either one, you're gonna get bombed really easily, or two, the uncommon destroyers will just uh can they I'm not sure the target the
no,
platform units,
no,
but
because I
it's
was having this debate with DS1 earlier this week that the
yeah,
uncommon destroyers smash will only affect ground units.
the
So it's
ground,
like a
right.
think of it like a
So
shock wave. So it's like knocking people over, and that's causing damage as it's doing
yep,
it. But the platform protects them.
yep. But in this instance here, even if you try to put some other unit there to try to cover and do like a two tile attack, you're
Mm,
still gonna get easily picked off being in that central unit there if you put the
yeah,
defender there, because what you're doing is essentially is you're eliminating that platform that we just told you is going to be one of the most powerful spots that you're going to have to form a defense in that bottom the bottom portion of this map.
yeah.
So if I see a defense like this, for me it's easy to attack, because I'm just going to try to either bait ultimates, and then I'm going to send in my slaughters and my daggers and try to take that tank down, because after that tank goes, everything goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the the marksman can only do so much damage. I have seen the marksman put on, so I have seen sort of a marksman put on this tile face down,
Right
and that's
there.
quite effective
Hmm.
because they got a nice run over that space. But and then obviously because you can then go like that, and you're reducing the risk of attack by bookkeepers. Uh, so it adds a bit, it mixes things up a little bit to reduce the risk of splash damage. But yeah, it's still a difficult team. It's still pretty easy because it's a case of taking that
I
out.
mean, you you can do that if you want. It's just what. So if you do to put the defender there, I think you just pretty much take out of your arsenal. You take any ground unit out of the equation, because that
Yeah,
Helga right there is too easy to shut down. So yeah, if you can have your marksman on top and in those two platform units do the damage that you need, you can try it. But I'm wondering if the priority targeting after the it wouldn't go out after Vortex, right? The archers would not go after Vortex because they would see the tank beforehand. So that's still
yeah,
safe. But I'm just thinking that in this setup here, there is no protection here from the bottom, and then your defender is just going to be too susceptible after all the ults are baited.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, with the right defender, you can use so like a Brock here or something. You might be able to hold for a while because obviously he has his frozen state, but that's not going to give you a chance to get the Silas back up. Maybe someone with a low rage cap, you might be actually agreed there under this format might work okay because he's got such a low rage cap. But even then, it's not an ideal situation, and you don't really want to be risking it on greed.
Exactly. So it just it that formation there just looks too easy to either run over or bomb if you time it correctly.
Yeah. Now, one combination which I did. I'm kind of reluctant to talk about it because it's so because I think it's powerful. Um, but and if you have a Cyrus, you just generally are in a really strong position right now. There's so much content where Cyrus is doing really
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
But if you have a Cyrus here facing that way, and then you have a Magda facing that way, you have this brilliant combination of hell because anything that's coming in here is attacking Cyrus. Cyrus is getting his defending skeleton, keeping him alive. So he can't summon two skeletons, so he's only ever summoning one skeleton. As soon as that skeleton dies, he's probably given him time to recharge his ultimate. So his skeleton dies, he ultimates, summons a skeleton, which keeps him alive. He's being healed at all this time. And anything which stacks up on Cyrus and tries to push past immediately triggers Magda's ultimate and then gets pushed back. So you can't run past it on the ground at all. And if you get something like Mari in there, and then something really a strong archer and a healer, and that's just it. You're just really difficult to get past.
Yes, I was going to say that if you are able to do that, pull that off, you have to make sure that you protect against the lightning guards, if that is the case. And so, yeah, Mary would be one, but you need a very strong physical damage on top to protect you.
Yeah, but yeah, that's a
I've seen
brilliant
that.
defensive.
Yep. I've seen some very good defenses on the bottom, and there is one we don't have to talk about it, but there is one that you and I just looked at, of how powerful it can be, and is giving some headaches to some of our guildmates. So we'll
Yeah,
have
so
to test it out and play around with it.
yeah, I mean, King Haas with Mari is always going to be really tough. So I mean, King Haas here, Mari here. I can't remember exactly who else was around it. Um, but I think Ardia. I mean, Ardia under King Haas is going to be powerful because you don't have to worry about her survivability much because she's got the shields. Um,
Right.
so you've got lots of ground protection there. You've got Mari slowing down the aerial assault, and then you just need a decent marksman and a healer, and yeah, you've got a really strong combination there.
So that pretty much covers the bottom. Now let's go to the
Yeah.
top, and let's try to emphasize the no-nos right away here on the top.
Yeah. So if you are going to the top, remember we're talking about that 3 tile range on marksmen and bookkeepers, and that means that these 2 tiles are immediately vulnerable. You can put a defender here to try and draw their fire, but what can even happen? Well, what will happen is that they will see any unit on this tile before they get to the range of that defender. So that's dead, which means that that's dead. And even so, I think with a marksman will take out that unit before they go for that. Someone did show me something interesting the other day where they got a unit to a demon to about here, at which point the marksman decided to take a pop shot at the platform unit as well. So that was, I don't know if that was a bug, but there's definitely those platform units are incredibly vulnerable to assault, and it's worth noting that you can't. Your units placed here are protected from the spawn point. So as soon as you place here, you can't be targeted. And I think they've tried to indicate that by putting in this high pyramid here, saying it can't be shot
Right.
over.
Yeah, don't try to put an Eobar up there on top or the Pelagius on facing over towards the spawn point, because it won't do anything. It'll just it'll just sit there and not do anything. So
Yeah.
don't try to pick them off at the spawn point.
Yeah. Um, you can do that, and then you can have your ranged fighters behind. I have seen a couple of double marksman setups on this back row, or marksman mage. I saw one which was
Mhm.
Hatchet and Greed, and a defender around here somewhere, which meant that you had the slows coming in from Greed, and you had the the burst damage potential from Hatsets coming over the top. So there was, yeah, it had a lot of good things, and obviously everything's quite clustered. So you've got the marksman in place, so you've got the defender in place to keep the focus on the units there. So
Now, the other thing that I know though is if you decide to go defender in that spot, and then you put a fighter right to the left of it, that fighter is going to be susceptible to bookkeepers, or
yeah,
yeah, to the bookkeepers. So
yeah,
do make sure that uh, if you're gonna deploy that strategy, possibly the only unit that could survive that is Valderon,
yeah,
because it's gonna take a
Valderon,
couple times to kill. So,
yeah,
but I see this. If I see this formation, especially in the first week, if I saw it, it's like the first thing I'm sending, regardless of whether they were a marksman on top or a healer on top. It was the bookkeepers, because I knew the bookkeepers were going to take that fighter out. Once you got the fighter out, it's easy to pick on the tank.
yeah, yeah. Or and anyway, they if you've taken down some of the DPS, then you've got more opportunity to it was probably a ranged fighter anyway, someone like a Arrogance or a Zilitu, and that means that you've got more opportunities to fly past or overwhelm the backline marksman who's trying to pick people off
Yep.
as well. You always don't be surprised how tanky a level 7 lizard fly is, because they're cheap and they will fly over an amazing amount of stuff, and because if you're there's three of them, you only need one of them to get through to take out hit point on the target. So sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, correct. So, yeah, so there were definitely certain defenses that if you decide to deploy this formation, they're going to be susceptible to flyers. There's no question in that regard.
Yeah. So obviously defender locations are more problematic up the top, because there's so few tiles where you're not bunched up amongst everyone else. So that's okay, but as soon as that defender is down, you're in trouble, and you've got nowhere to put this second mage. Um, yeah, you
Yeah,
have
no.
seen
So,
double defender strategies here. I think I've seen it was something like Baron, Toreador, Arrogance, uh, Healer, and a Marksman up here. So that was one team which I've seen. It's quite good because obviously you're going to get a lot of focus on the defenders on here, and that means it's going to be harder to focus through that. But
but I do think that if you do squish them up like that, one of the things that could happen, especially let's say if it's arrogance, right? So you just
yeah,
wait for arrogance ult, and then maybe bait the marksman.
yeah,
Now you kind of open things up for bombers, right? So if people time that very well, they can send the bombers in. They're gonna get in. They're gonna get you in that middle tile, and then whatever they can pick off, they'll pick off there.
yeah.
So
And I would say
yes,
that
so
timing on this
be
map is
conscious of that.
obviously, yeah, this map is obviously significantly bigger than the previous map, so it's going to take a bit more practice to make sure that your spider teams are going to be working effectively. Previously, it was like, oh, it's just a 3 second run, so it's down, down, and then they go. But now they've got a lot further to run. The opportunity for the spiders to get ahead of the too far ahead of the bombers is much easier. So you've got to think about that. So if that is one of your favorite attacks, spend this time over the next couple of days before GvG restarts, just practicing those runs, working out your timing. I've done it once, and it was, but I've got level four bugs, so I couldn't give you a good strategy anyway because it was a one off, and it was like a I really hope this worked type moment. It was so, but
Yeah,
it's something
exactly.
that will come with practice, and I'm sure the people who specialize in putting out that content will have something by Wednesday evening. They'll have a video up on what they found is the best timing.
For sure, for sure. But if you're gonna go on top, you have to figure out a way to protect yourself from that type of strategy if you can. Again, it is a very specialized strategy, but if you're in the plat 3 going into overload, you probably have practice at it, and yeah, you're gonna be able to easily pick off some of those defenses if you get there. So I guess for this, if I were to go on the top, yeah, I would have to make sure that my physical damage, my marksmen are ones that are really rapid in terms of hitting, and to make sure that that they can pick off as much as they can before those bombers get there.
Yeah, I have seen a couple of split tank defenses on this. Um, it's much harder to do because if there's anything that's getting past your first, because if there's anything that's getting past the first defender, then that probably means they're either just going to blitzkrieg through the second defender. So I can't see split defenders working particularly well on this map because you'd need. I mean, I did
No,
suggest the team
I
earlier.
wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it's a if needs must you could do it, but it's a really rough strategy, and it's probably not going to hold up well.
And also with this type of strategy here, I have seen where people like to load up with two marksmen, but make sure that if you do that, that they're not marksmen, so all take a while to come back up. Because one of the strategies we like to use if we see that type of setup is just we send the lightning guards, and then we send every green lizard we have in our to deploy, and they'll just get past it. So I think we even saw one of our guildmates use the epic flyers, just go right through it after he baited the ult. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean
so just make sure your marksmen are.
that's quite a common strategy. Is wait until the ultimates are fully charged, send in a bait unit so everything gets triggered, and then as soon as your lightning guards are ready, you just send them in. And because the map's so long, by the time they get to where the defenses are, they're normally the teams are their ultimates have expired. You just float straight over. They cause absolute devastating havoc to the defenses, and then you just send over something fast and something cheap over the top for victory.
So that's pretty much the do nots and do's of the top of
Yeah,
the map. And then the only other thing, I guess, is offense. And you kind of already uh, emphasized a little bit that this map is more like the central keep, where you cannot wait too long to send units out. You really have to think about strategy A, and then how you're going to compensate if it doesn't work. And at the same time, maybe is how you're going to reinforce your first set of deployments in case that they don't go exactly like you're planning it. So yeah, this is not one of those maps where you can wait too long to send your second wave of units like we had the opportunity to do with the previous map, which was more linear. So in this one, yeah, it takes a while for the units to get. And if you think you're just going to speed them up with the new demon soldier that we have available, I mean, if your other four are powerful enough that they can pick off the map, sure, go ahead and try that. But it's not going to work most of the time.
yeah. I mean, you can do clever things with that guy, just because you'll end up it's possible to overload a defender if all of the units you deployed suddenly arrive onto the enemy's defenses. And I always think it's really funny when you see the uncommon destroyers running across the map, just because they're
Yeah,
normally so
exactly.
slow. All of a sudden they're
So
sprinting.
yeah,
But
so yeah, it takes a little bit of coordination, a little bit more coordination in terms of your planning than the previous map did. So for some it might be frustrating. For other ones, it's actually going to be a little bit more fruitful to do this.
yeah, but take your time, speak to your guildmates. Don't necessarily go in guns blazing unless you're feeling super confident, because the timings are a bit different. Certainly, the first couple of we played, everyone was a bit tentative. Uh, I know Global, you've had a couple of days longer to practice. I think you've had access to this map for about a week now.
Yep, in global the friendlies it's on, so people have been practicing. At least that was nice. And Forerunners, we just got like, here's the map. Good luck. Here's the first week. You're ready to go. So it was kind of yeah, it was kind of an eventful first week when we got to try this out. So, but then that week we kind of learned from just looking at a guildmate's defenses and exactly where, nope, you can't do this. And if you do this, these are the units people are going to use. And so that's where we kind of then started reformatting as to what units we wanted to use and how exactly we wanted to deploy the defenses. So we're
Yeah,
slowly learning there. So, yep. But I know that the top guilds in GvG and global are going to be ready for this. They already had a week to practice, so they'll probably already accustomed to every type of defense that you could throw at them.
I'm sure you're looking forward to that.
Oh, immensely, immensely. But hey, you know what? It's part of the game, and a lot of people like this. So
Yeah,
I I I welcome it. So Arcturus, I welcome the change, even as you know, even the change might be a little bit more. I might bring a little bit more, planning or taking time in terms of deployments and attacks. That's fine. I just welcome the fact that they finally changed the map. There is something else for us to do. Unfortunately, it's going to be the same thing for 8 weeks. So we'll play around with different defenses. But just the fact that they changed the map is promising.
yeah, I think it is. I mean, I was fortunate enough to get this new unit, the enough shards to get this new guy. So I'm looking forward to having an opportunity to play with him. I have a feeling he's going to be pretty squishy, but
Yes,
I
I
don't
mean, you
know.
can tell. I mean, his magic resistance is a C. His
Yeah,
defense is a C. So yeah, so his deployment, oof, it's gonna be tricky. I have
yeah,
9 out of 10. I only got 9, so I should get him this week. So maybe you and I can start using him and see how we can toy around with him. But
yeah.
yeah,
So
like these guys are fragile too.
yeah. So he's basically got more HP than a Reaper, but his attack is slightly lower. But his attack is lower, but then he's got the opportunity to bypass the defense. So
Hmm.
that's, I mean, that's the trade-off, isn't it? So yeah, he's got more HP.
Yeah,
His
exactly.
attack. So,
I mean, we've seen him in action already in that spiral, so we know how he's
yeah,
supposed to work. Will he work the same way here? Well, we'll find out. But he is meant to go through that tanky broker or that tanky king hearts. That's what he's meant to do.
yeah. Uh, it's exactly that. But I mean, a King Haas with an Ardia behind him is just going to eat these guys for breakfast. And
Oh no. Yeah, no, that artist is gonna have to be taken out if you're gonna use that unit. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And the whole ideology between the freeze, right, was that if you do indeed freeze the tank, anything can happen, right? Anything can go
yeah,
through. So if he's blocking anybody, anything will go past them, and they can't gain rage. They won't be
yeah,
able to attack. So yeah, it's going to be a menacing unit. You just gonna have to use it very, very strategically.
yeah. I think I don't. I still think the Ardag's follower has got more chaos potential because if you've got a lot of units with a lot of small units can suddenly do a lot more damage. Whereas, oh god, Ardax follow with these guys with Reapers. Anyway, digressing. Um, most of the time, I don't pull out those units
No, that's
because I
fine.
know they're
It's
generally
just you
squishy.
just thinking out loud of things how
Yeah,
they can be complemented, and that's fine. That's what we're doing this
yeah.
for. So, but yeah, you guys are global. You're gonna get to we're gonna here in Forerunners. We should start seeing him next week. In global, it'll probably be a couple of weeks, but yeah, I imagine that he's gonna be a little bit menacing. There are gonna be some practical ways to use him if we can protect him very well.
Absolutely. I think some of those, yeah, those double tank teams where you've got something really nasty, a Brock here followed by something like a Haas, then all of a sudden, if the Haas goes down and everything else starts to fall apart, I think it's going to make a hell of a difference if these guys have just been able to walk past and eat through the Haas behind him. And what often happens in those maps is as soon as a double you get through two heal targets and the healer's focus is split, that's where they start to fall apart because a single unit being healed is much easier to focus and keep it at maximum health, whereas two units being having to kept alive means this healer's focus is split, and that's where you're able to start pulling them up to pieces.
Right. Yep. You got it. So that'll do it for this week's, folks. Just to give you a little bit of what we've known so far from being able to do for battles in the new map here in Forerunner server. What's probably going to come up to global, and you guys are going to start looking at defenses. And you probably already practice on friendlies a little bit, but at least will give you an opportunity of things that we've seen, things that you shouldn't do, and things that you should focus on when you start going full go on this when the week opens up next week. So with that, I would like to thank you all for Arturos and myself for tuning in and watching. Please do remember to hit like and subscribe on your way out. We'll see you next week. And please remember that we and the Dragon Slayers don't just play the game.
We slay.